Welcome back for another Diecast review as we go decade by decade through the collection. This is 1970, the Lotus 72 of Jochen Rindt. And finally, we get a mini champs to review. All right, cue the unnecessarily loud audience reaction. I do love this piece. We went from the rolling coffins of the 1960s to really this muscle car looking design. It has a really aggressive stance, the big rear wheels. It just exudes power. You know something's coming at you pretty quickly. This car in particular is from the German Grand Prix during Rindt's championship season. It was the first F1 race held at Hockenheim. The number 2 designation was a race-by-race thing, and that was only run that one time that year. Another thing that separates it is the full-face helmet that Rindt wore. This was the first time he had worn one during a Grand Prix. He ran it the rest of the year up until his fatal accident at Monza in practice. A pretty cool detail that I really just kind of glossed over after having this in my collection for several years. There are stickers on the rear wing, other parts of the car, and the back of Rindt's helmet. It says the Jochen Rindt Show. Well, what was that? No, dude wasn't doing a podcast or anything like that back then. It was an auto racing exhibition show that Rindt started a few years prior to his death. It actually stayed around for several years after until the name was switched, and it's still going today. I bring this up because years after Rindt's fatal accident, there are talks of, well, was he going to continue with Lotus? Was he going to stay in F1 in general? And one of the theories was that he was really going to sink his time into this annual exhibition. And he also had his friend / sort of manager, Bernie Ecclestone. Yeah, there he is without bangs. There's a theory that they would have teamed up and really made this almost a World's Fair-like event. Obviously, that would have changed the face of F1. Bernie Ecclestone went on to be the czar of the sport and took it to great heights, but that may all not have happened had Rindt lived. Let's take a look at some of the other designs. The nose is so flat and thin. No, I'm not talking about Jochen's nose. The nose of the Lotus 72, the radiator opening and cooling. Colin Chapman moved them to the sides of the car and split them, and that's still in Formula One today. That's pretty incredible. There are some cooling areas at the top. If you'll see near the Firestone part, there are those slits right there. Those are for the brakes. The discs and rotors were all inboard. This is one of the few rear-wheel drive racing cars that had the brakes inboard, and I would tell you so much more if I actually understood and knew the mechanics of it. Throughout the year, the engine was largely uncovered, the Cosworth DFV, the famous power plant. But for the British Grand Prix, the race before Hockenheim, they added this airbox, this bodywork that went over top of the inlets for the engine. And what it did was funnel the air and make it more concentrated, and that added horsepower to make the engine even more powerful. I hope you enjoyed this look at one of the more mysterious champions in Formula One, one of the best and most successful designs in the history of the sport, as well as, I think, one of the best pieces in my collection. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.